What blues? Do you have a contact in England?
In England, yeah. We have some difficulties with it in England because the album was in fact completed some time ago, and it was due to be released on a new independent label, and a lot of things went wrong. We finally got fed up with them and blew the whole thing out, and it's now coming out on Jungle Records, which is a label I've worked with before.
What were the problems that happened with the first time around?
Well, they're too numerous and boring to mention, really. But I mean, basically, I think a lack of experience. The people that were doing it. It was people we knew that worked with us through promotion of gigs and things. That it seemed to be okay at first, and as it went on, it got less and less good. So.
Actually released in.
I think it's probably come out this week, actually. Yeah.
It almost seems that most of the people who are kind of labeled as punk rock bands, like Ian Dury, Nick Lowe, they continually come out with very good records, but I guess yourself included. But the sales never quite seem to be up to par.
Well, I don't know. I mean, I suppose there's different reasons for everybody, but I think for one thing, if you're not working through major labels, you're not going to get major sales. I mean, that's just a simple fact of economics. They've got the distribution, they've got the advertising, all the various powers they have. We're people that tend to work live, and we have a following live that want to buy our records. To get beyond that following, you've got to have advertising and things like that, which generally aren't available to us. And I think that's largely what the reason is.
I wonder why the major labels don't ever hook into better punk rock performers of your...
Is that a word? We've over this last year or so, we try very hard to get a deal with a major label, but they're not interested. I mean, I think it's always the case. They're typically conservative, and they will be trying to sign things that are currently successful or things like that. They're very rarely displaying imagination. It's just the kind of inertia of large corporations, I think. It's just not in their nature to try anything different. They want to go for safe bets, and it's great when you're on the inside of it, because it preserves your position. When you're on the outside, it's not so good. I've been on the inside in my time, so I can't really complain.
So go ahead. You were at a show last night. I was wondering how it feels to play here again after this interval of about a year or
so. We always look forward to coming. I mean, this is our full visit, and it's kind of turned into a kind of high spot of our year. Because I suppose, because it's an unusual and exotic location. I mean, you can boast about it when you get home. Oh, you've been in Japan, but I mean, apart from things like that, it's a good audience which we enjoy playing to, and also because things like Smash Corporation that do put on the gigs for us are just the best people I've ever worked with anywhere at any level, and you get looked after so well that it's just always a real pleasure to us to be here. So I can say that quite genuinely.
Sounds sincere.
ま
ず日本っていう From anywhere outside of the UK and Japan?
Oh yeah, we probably spend half our time outside the UK. We play quite extensively in Europe, particularly Scandinavia, Spain and France. I think are probably the places we spend most of our time in, but various other countries in Europe occasionally. I mean, we were in just before we came here. We were in Holland, for instance, and as soon as we get back, we're going to Ireland to do some television show and some other gigs. We move around quite a bit.
いや、大阪と内訳としては、イギリス半分と、how do your records do in the other countries in Europe, the continent?
I don't know, really. I mean, all I know is how well we do really live. You know, you're much more in touch with what's happening live. I mean, you can, if you're not actually getting in the charts and selling records in that kind of way, it's hard to say how well you're doing, you know, in any particular market. I mean, I know that, for instance, when we go to Spain, we tend to do probably larger gigs there than anywhere else. I mean, we typically play to sort of 2,000 or 3,000 people there, whereas it's on a smaller kind of level elsewhere. But I don't know that we sell any more records there than anywhere else. I know we do bigger gigs there.
Seems rather unique. Why do you think you go over big in Spain? You excite that Latin blood there?
Something like that. I mean, it's certainly good playing there. There's certainly a really good audience for rock and roll, and I mean, ever since the sort of Dr Feelgood days, I've just always been used to playing to rather larger audiences there, or rather, the audiences don't seem to dwindle. You know, it doesn't seem to move down that much. No, perhaps. I've no idea what that is, really. No idea.
One thing that seems to characterize your live performance is your rather novel movements on stage there. Is that a conscious attempt at entertaining, or is that just something you subconsciously sort of merge into?
It's not something that I ever consciously contrived. And it's something I've always done. You know, kind of looking back, it's hard to say how it evolved. I think in the first place, it's like just, I don't know, kind of a physical expression of the way the music works inside me somehow. It's kind of, it's sudden, it's jerky, I don't know, but in doing this, I think it probably dawned on me quite early that doing that has an effect on people. I mean, to me, the purpose of what I do, the music I play, is to excite, and I think anything you do that creates excitement is also the purpose, and it's all wrapped up in it. I mean, it's physical music to me. It's physical.
I guess that other performers in the same vein as you were, who belong to the same musical genre, tend to perform in a much more stodgy manner, not quite as physical, whereas you and I guess the bassist Norman almost seem to be on the verge of virtual madness there, the peak of your performances. Is it a border on madness there, or is it something a little more?
I don't think you call it madness because we are I think we're quite well aware of what we're doing. We're not out of control.
Having slipped into an altered state there.
Yeah, I think. I think anybody can understand it. You know, if you were really digging some music, you're listening to some music, and people tend to, you know, jump around when they're doing it. You know, if somebody excites you, you'll move. I mean, even the squarest person's going to tap their foot. It's going to make a move, and it's like that. I mean, what surprises me is not so much that we move around, it's that I sometimes see other people that just seem to stand there, and I don't know how they can just stand there. You know, I think that surprises me, not what we
do. You display quite a bit of determination there when you're strumming away there, and you're actually drawing blood from your fingers there. That's I guess the mark of a true determined performer.
Yeah, I think I do get completely absorbed in it. I mean, it's hard, you know, it's hard to kind of sit down here now and say what it's like, but it's yeah. I mean, you can literally you know, like you do sometimes literally draw blood. You know, you cut your hands playing. You won't know. You'll realise later on. You won't know at the time. Kind of. The thing is, I'm left-handed, and when I first began to try to learn to play, I was doing it this way around. I wasn't very good. I'm a very slow learner, and after I've been struggling away for some time, and everybody at school could play better than me, I decided to try and do it the other right-handed. I began to play right-handed, and I could never hang on to the things, so I just didn't use them. There's no actual, I don't think there's any real actual advantage in the technique in not using a pick. I mean, anything I do, I think you can do just as well with one. It's just
you seem to be admired more as a guitarist than a vocalist. You wish people would take more notice of your vocal prowess.
I mean, I'm no singer. I mean, I think I can. You know, the songs I write, I write for me, and I think I can deliver them. Some of the things I write, I think I can do them probably better than anybody else could. But no, I really began as a guitarist, and just the circumstances have led me to sort of being a vocalist as well. When I first got going, when I first began to achieve recognition, I mean, I didn't really look at myself as much of a musician even. I looked at myself as a performer. I don't know. I mean, I don't really estimate myself in any way. I just do what I do, you know, however it comes across. I'm probably a better guitar player than I'm a singer. Yeah.
Have you ever considered finding a vocalist by trade to beef up the sound of the band? Do you think it would take away from it more than it would add to it?
Well, so obviously when I first began in Dr Feelgood, the situation was I was in a band that had a vocalist and I was the guitarist, and after that I think the thing was, because I was writing songs and I wanted to sing them, you know, I mean, they're quite individual kind of songs. They're about anything, they're about me. So I like to sing them. I worked for before this band began. I worked for a while with Lou Lewis, the harmonica player, and he was taking about half the vocals, and that I quite enjoyed doing that because he got a whole, he got his own songs, and we kind of shared things that way. But no, I mean, I like singing the songs, so and I like having also. I think all of us like having a three-piece band. There's something good about a three-piece. It's so basic, and I think we can do everything we need to do.
The whole punk rock thing, I guess, in the mid-'70s was kind of heralded as sort of the forerunner to punk. What was the punk movement to you?
Well, it's funny when you start. I mean, a lot of these labels are really down to journalists more than musicians. I think that pub rock thing was particularly because the one thing like pub rock was, it was labelled like that. Really, it was it was more to do. It was a kind of venue rather than a kind of music. There were just gigs going in these places, and more or less everybody doing those gigs was playing a different kind of music. If you looked at all the different bands that were around at that time, they were almost all in a different kind of music. There were, say, Dr Feelgood was at rhythm and blues, and there were other bands like Brinsley Schwartz that were more kind of rock, or country rock or things like that. So it didn't really describe a kind of music. And then the punk thing happened. You see, when Dr Feelgood became successful, I thought it was going to lead to a rhythm and what we call rhythm and blues in England, really. It's, but that kind of rhythm and blues, I thought that it was going to lead to a boom in that kind of music. Well, it didn't. The next thing that happened was the punk thing. But I think a lot. That all happened when we were touring in America in 1976. So I didn't really see it begin. But I know, subsequently got to know a lot of these musicians and realised a lot of them had been influenced by Dr Feelgood. And I think what they got from Dr Feelgood wasn't so much the style or technique of music, but the energy and the simplicity. Which was the thing I really appreciated about punk music. I liked it because of that. Because I think one of the things I didn't like about the scene before, when we first began, and I looked around at what was happening then, was it was also very staid and, it wasn't exciting. And punk music was probably the opposite. I mean, there was almost no technique. I mean, some of it was, notoriously crude musically, but the energy was there, which I think should always be there.
The punk rockers took a different path than, say, the pub rockers did. It seems like the people who are involved in the punk movement directly kind of developed in various sundry ways, whereas the pub rockers have kind of continued on the road they were originally on.
All people within any kind of movement, they're all individuals. I mean, what they really do, you have to ask them one by one.
Yeah.
But I think perhaps, what you're getting at there is, it relates back to something I said just now. You see, the people in that pub rock thing, as I said, they were all playing all different kinds of music. I think that we were generally all experienced musicians to one degree or another. I mean, some of the musicians on the pub rock thing were fairly well known. They'd got reputation. Some, like Dr Feelgood, were completely unknown. We'd never done anything professionally before, but we'd played quite a lot. We'd learned to play, and we were all committed in one way or another to our styles. The punk rockers were largely very young, very new, and just going in with more or less nothing but enthusiasm. Now, obviously, a lot of them fell by the wayside. The ones that did have something continued. Now, because they were new, like anybody, you know, when you're new, you're starting something, and you'll find your way to different things. I think that's what happened. It's simply a matter of, you know, some of us already found our way when we, you know, and the punk rockers hadn't. But that's what it was.
The punk movement actually had stuff to offer and developed into something worthwhile.
Well, I think the ones that impressed me most were the Clash. I mean, first of all, they you know, they were just more or less this pure punk thing, just this kind of thrash music, you know, with a lot of energy. And I quite like the fact that there were ideas in their songs, although at first I thought, you know, I found them pretty primitive musically. But as they went on, I think, you know, they started absorbing different influences. I mean, I was very impressed with some of the stuff that they come out with later on. You know, and to me, I think they were the most impressive example of something developing. Yeah, the Clash.
You know, you mentioned the Clash, and they did adopt, you know, other styles like reggae or dub, that type of thing. Have you ever considered that type of thing in your own case, mixing and matching outside styles in that way?
No, I don't. It's so hard to kind of say what goes on when you're thinking of, you know, I mean, I have a certain idea about music, you know, and a certain. I know what it was that kind of excited me and just a certain feeling that made me want to play the way I play, and I found it in what I called rhythm and blues, and it's that's still the thing to me, and I think you know, that's the music I like to play. I like this. There's a lot of other things that I like to listen to, you know, and I think that they all creep in here and there. But I've never consciously thought I want to change or I want to bring this or that in. If you may pick up an echo from reggae or soul music or something here and there, you be aware of that when you're writing a song or something. But I never consciously think I want to take a direction or something. I just always do my thing.
Who's the fellow that opened the act?
What, the solo guy?
Yeah.
He's somebody that they went out. Me, I always go back to my room and go to bed, right? And I'm not a socialising person. The others, the night before, the others all went out on the town and they saw him playing and they liked it, so they asked him to come along. That was the first time I'd seen him. They just happened to see him playing the night before and asked him to come along.
You just know that the guy, his performance is okay, the best of husky voice of his, and he was saying that your approach to rhythm and blues is not as slavish as, say, his approach to the blues.
Yeah.
You tend to take your own approach.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, I thought he did. I thought he was good at what he did. But as you say, I mean, he's playing blues. You know, he's like playing in that style. You know, those things that have been recorded in another time, another place by different people. I mean, I love the blues, and I can remember, when I was a teenager, and the first time I heard blues music, and it just—that's the thing about it. See, it's just it communicates. It's such so powerfully, and you think, well, why should a teenage white kid in England get off on this music that black people in America were doing probably 10, 20 years before? There's something about it. There's also something about it that is unique to the circumstances it came from, and I've always realised that, and I've always realised that I could never play the blues, I mean, love it as much as I do, I could never play the blues, but because it's something about it gets to me, there must be something about it I can reflect, when we were saying earlier about, what influences on my music and things like that, I always like to try and think that what I do is somehow true to that feeling, that is something very intangible, but if that thing should be in it, should twang in it somewhere, but it's got to be something also to do with me that I understand. I mean, I've never ridden on a freight train or anything like that, but
never picked cotton.
Right, I never picked any cotton at all, right, but but I still feel the same way any other human feels, and I just, got to try and say what I feel like from where I am.
For a period there, I guess, when Dr. Feelgood released Stupidity, you guys are kind of riding high in the charts there. Do you keep up with popular music, those kind of charts?
No, I'm afraid I don't. Every now and then, we have this television program in England called Top of the Pops, where it's a chart show. Every now and then I kind of watch it. I think I must watch it and just sort of be in touch. And I tell you, it just bores me shitless. It's awful. It's bloody terrible. And and sometimes I sit and think, well, is this just a sort of me being, like reactionary sour grapes, but it's not really, because I don't feel these people are doing me out of anything, but I just don't. They certainly don't excite me. And I mean, I even sort of know some of these people personally as well, and they still don't excite me, musically. So,
is there anybody around in the charts these days you know of who you think is putting out anything of even marginal interest?
I don't even know what's in the charts at the minute. I mean, sometimes you get bands that are really good, like Talking Heads or someone, and they have a hit, and they're a great band, great music, but they're not what we're talking about, are they? I mean, at the minute, there's just so much. I tell you what, there's so much of these synthesizers, and so much music now that's made by machines, and that I really detest. I absolutely despise and detest it. And anybody that can stand there and with one finger on some stupid silicon chip, and I don't know where people waste their money on it. It's beyond me. I don't know.
What do you listen to at home?
Sometimes I have to listen to some of that because I've got children.
Oh, is that right?
But no, I listen to things. I mean, I love Bob Dylan. I always have, and it still sounds great to me. And of course, all the blues things, and also, as the years go by, you kind of go in different scenes. You pick up different things that are great. I mean, Jimi Hendrix is great. I like Neil Young. I don't know. I like Django Reinhardt. I like rhythm and blues best of all.
When you say rhythm and blues, what exactly are you referring to? I'm totally baffled. What are you exactly referring to by rhythm and blues?
Probably I mean anything I like. Well, I mean, there's the kind of rhythm and blues that what we call British rhythm and blues is derived from is sort of like, well, you got the, like Chicago blues and all that sort of Muddy Waters and these kind of people, urban blues music. But I mean, it goes through to soul music, and stuff like that, I don't know.
Well, that's the biggest transition it made to soul music.
Yeah.
By way of the Impressions.
It goes. I mean, it's a very wide range of music. There, it goes from very, 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 very sophisticated stuff to like something like John Lee Hooker that's almost primitive, but still marvellous to me. But I mean, I don't. A lot of the time, I read books. I don't listen to music. People always think you spend your life kind of as a musician. You're always listening to music. Or we do other things as well.
I think most musicians do. I found they almost listen to more music.
Yeah.
I mean, they're genuinely following the charts too, I suppose.
Yeah.
I guess most of the people that come here tend to be people who are in the charts.
Yeah.
That's why they come to Japan.
Yeah.
So I feel resentment that inferior stuff sells so well. Sells much better than your stuff.
No, if there was any justice in this world, then I would never have got anywhere. So
That's rather humble out, I guess.
No, I think it's true. I mean, because you can look at it both ways. I've seen people. I know there are people that have got more in there than I've got, who are unknown, and that's just the way it goes. I think if you spend your time getting upset because some kids are, getting very rich and getting lots of girls and that, then you're just being silly. You're just causing grief for yourself. And I'm obviously, any musician would love to have his records at the top of the charts and sell out carnival.
Blues. Do you have a contact in England?
In England, yeah. We have some difficulties with it in England because the album was in fact completed some time ago, and it was due to be released on a new independent label, and a lot of things went wrong. We finally got fed up with them and blew the whole thing out, and it's now coming out on Jungle Records, which is a label I've worked with before.
What were the problems that happened when it first came around?
Well, they were too numerous and boring to mention, really. But I mean, basically, I think a lack of experience. The people that were doing it. It was people we knew that worked with us through promotion of gigs and things. That it seemed to be okay at first, and as it went on, it got less and less good. So.
What's up, actually released in?
I think it's probably come out this week, actually. Yeah.
It almost seems that most of the people who are kind of labeled as punk rock bands, like Ian Dury, much of Nick Lowe, they continually come out with very good records, but I guess you're still
a major label, but they're not interested. I mean, I think it's always the case. They're typically conservative, and they will be trying to sign things that are currently successful or things like that. They're very rarely displaying imagination. It's just the kind of inertia of large corporations, I think. It's just not in their nature to try anything different. They want to go for safe bets, and it's great when you're on the inside of it, because it preserves your position. When you're on the outside, it's not so good. I've been on the inside in my time, so I can't really complain.
So go ahead, you're also included, but the sales never quite seem to be up to par.
Well, I don't know. I mean, I suppose there's different reasons for everybody, but I think for one thing, if you're not working through major labels, you're not going to get major sales. I mean, that's just a simple fact of economics. They've got the distribution, they've got the advertising, you know, all the various powers they have. If we're people that tend to work live, and we have a following live that want to buy our records. To get beyond that following, you've got to have, advertising and things like that, which generally aren't available to us. And I think that's largely what the reason is.
I wonder why the major labels don't ever hook into better pub rock performers of your...
Is that a word? We've over this last year or so, we try very hard to get a deal with